Okay, guys, let's explain a little bit about the crazy world in which we live in and what's going on in Congress and where our bill stands. We've been fielding a lot of questions about this and how our bill can get passed and where it's going to be. There are a few problems, and I'm going to try to do my best to explain them. I'm also going to try to do so without being political. Okay, we're just going to explain what's going on and where the bills are and why they're kind of being jammed up a little bit. So as you all know, we have an infrastructure bill and we have a reconciliation bill. We have a congressional budget, which is the fiscal end of the year. And then we have a debt ceiling, which is for the United States to pay back all of its debt. All of this ties in together. And our bill is sitting there waiting to see which way we go. This new GIMS grant would be attached to either the debt ceiling or the fiscal budget. Now, the problem with that is these two bills, which is the infrastructure bill and the reconciliation bill, are kind of being leveraged against passing those other two. In the Democratic Party, you have your moderates, you have your corporate Democrats, but you also have your progressive Democrats. The progressive Democrats have been growing, but they're still a relatively small group. But all of their votes are needed. And what the progressive Democrats are saying is, we have this infrastructure bill that everybody agrees on and wants to pass. Well, they will not support it unless the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill is kept in its entirety and brought to pass. However, the Republican Party doesn't want to pass that high level of a bill, and some Democrats also don't want to pass that high of a bill, namely 2. So without their vote, the bill as it stands, which is $3.5 trillion, cannot get passed. So the progressives are saying, well, if you're not going to bring to the table the reconciliation bill, and we're not going to pass it in its entirety, we're not going to vote for the infrastructure bill. So both these things are being kind of held up. So the problem with that is if those things get held up, well, the other two aren't going to get passed. So Congress did extend the deadline for the congressional fiscal year policy until mid-December, or towards the latter end of December. So they'll have to decide on whether they're going to increase their budget. The debt ceiling, that comes, I believe, on the 19th, okay? The United States has never defaulted on any of our debt, but the Republicans are saying, we want no part of it, we're not raising the debt ceiling. They're also saying that the Democrats can do it on their own through some parliamentary ends. However, it doesn't seem that this is something that the Democrats want to do, or I don't know how feasible that is. Point being, if Congress doesn't pass their budget, they shut. And if the debt ceiling doesn't get passed, we will be in a global crisis, an actual global crisis. It has to do with our bond market and all of our trading that we do. That would trickle down into an absolute disaster from Treasury across the globe. It would be a disaster. Again, we've never defaulted on it. Now, something like this did happen in 2013, and it was settled, I believe, a couple of days afterwards. But I guess we have to see who's going to give first. And here is our bill. And this is why it's so frustrating, because the people in the middle, us, just your average middle-class America, business owners, are all sitting here trying to get by and survive while we're playing political games here. How this bill is being thrown a lifeline, and we have to sit here and hope that these other two things get done is just ridiculous, because we should have had the funds a long time ago. But that's just not the case, and we can't go back in time. But that's kind of where it stands. So unless all these things play out, our bill can't get attached to anything because nothing's going to get passed, right? So if they don't pass the budget, we're not in that. If they don't raise the debt ceiling, We're not in that. If the government decides to shut down, well, everything's going to get delayed. All right. So it all kind of plays into this game that we're in right now. And that's why we can't get any clear-cut answers. That's why we simply just don't know. And everybody is kind of on hold. Again, our saving grace is that the restaurants are attached with us. And Congress, truth is, they really don't care much about us. And we can argue about that plenty of time. But they do care about the restaurants. And they want to make sure that they get their money. This is a good thing. Okay, this is a good thing. But time is not on our side. Okay, time is not on our side. And we lost a bunch of gyms the last couple of weeks. I just had a phone call from somebody this afternoon, another gym closing down. And if you close, you won't be able to get any of these funds. All right, so, people are just hanging on. That's where we're at with this bill. That's where we're at with who wants in, who wants out, who wants to vote, who wants to get this passed, who doesn't, and we're just sitting there waiting. We will keep you posted. We do have a couple of phone calls set this week. We're still hopeful to speak with Governor Hochul about a few things, and we will keep you up to date when we know, you guys know. All right, guys, good luck.